Hi everyone, I hope that everyone's doing well. If you want to join me during this time, I'm going to be working on the respiratory system. So if you're having any type of sinus related issues or congestion or so, this would be really good. But even if not, it would be good to just get out ahead and arm yourself with your total well-being by working on your respiratory system so it can build your immunity. So I'm going to start off with a little bit of hand reflexology, and so I'm going to get a little bit of lotion, and if you have some, definitely get some. We're also going to do some work on the feet, and before doing that I'm going to get a little bit more hydrated, but just going to start working let's start working on the hands. So one of the things I like to do when doing hand reflexology or just massaging is to just start working over the entire hand, because you're actually touching on so many different organs. And so even though today I want to focus mainly on the respiratory system, but on the hands I'm going to work on the sinus pads. So just give your hand a quick rub here. Just getting the hand sort of warmed up. All right. Okay. So I'm going to start just working on the sinus pads, and you can find those on the tips, the fingers here. And much like on the feet, for those of you who've actually seen my demonstrations of doing a lot of the foot reflexology as it relates to the sinuses and going up the spine, it's pretty much the same on the hand. So actually, before we get started with me demonstrating with the sinus pads, let's do a little bit of worm walking up the spine. And the spine is up here, and then we'll work the brain and the sinus. So just going to work on the central nervous system. I always love to start there. So just do a little bit of just worm walking here up the side of your finger, or your thumb rather. Okay, and then just walk back down. And I'll demonstrate this also on the feet as well. We'll go one more time, up and down one more time. Okay. Okay. So now I'm going to come right here and start working. You can see that. You start working the brain area, but this is also the sinuses. So just make some circle motions here. And press in and take a deep breath. All right. Actually feeling guided to work it this way. So I'm going to bring my hand up so you can just see me do some little walk downs here. Just a few circular motions. And sometimes I like to just get under the hook and press in, take a deep breath. Just walk down and make some circular motions. then do the same here. And also you can dig right in here. And you can also feel free to walk all the way down your fingers. When it comes to working the sinuses, I typically like to mainly work those more so on the feet, but doing hand reflexology is good for you as well, because especially like if you are at work or you're out, and obviously you can't start working on your feet, but it's just a good way to be able to work on yourself, and also as you're just kind of rubbing your hands. Sometimes people don't even know what you're doing. You're working on your well-being, and they think you're just rubbing your hands together, and you are, but you're being very intentional with that. But yeah, you can, press in there. If you ever have sinus pressure or so, you press right in here and just hold for probably about like 3 to 5 seconds, and just take some deep breaths. You can repeat this, but that helps to relieve the pressure. Also, if you get any nausea, because sometimes when you have sinus things going on, or even respiratory stuff, it can make you feel nauseated. So yeah, just press in here. So what I'm going to do now is come over to the feet, but I want to drink a little bit of water, get some hydration going, so I encourage you to do the same. Having water before and after is so important, and I would definitely say more so afterwards, even though it's great to be hydrated, for sure, but definitely on the onset, but definitely after, make sure you drink plenty of water. So I want to start working the respiratory system on the feet, and what I'm going to do is use some ginger essential oil, and some of you are familiar with this because you've seen me use it in other videos. It's what I most recommend also too when people are working on clients or family members or so. But this is a really good one, especially when we're working on the respiratory system. Ginger is so good and so beneficial. Now I'll come back and work on the left foot, but I'm going to start with the right, and going to put my hands here to open up my hips, the hip flexor here. I always recommend to do this for about 30 seconds to just start warming up when you want to do reflexology. And it's not necessarily required, because sometimes I don't do it on each foot, but it's a good one here. All right. So it's foot twist, spinal twist here. Again, just getting the foot prepared here. All right. So I'm going to be working on the respiratory system, and so I'm going to cover the sinuses, which are on the pads here, tips of the toes, and right in here is the lung section here, and this area here coming down from your thyroid to your thymus gland is really good to work. Really, in this indention, if you want to work the respiratory system in one area, this right here, I would recommend spend time right in here. But it's good to work all around and to definitely get in the lung area for sure. So we're going to start with actually doing some of the spine reflex of going up the spine. I often love to start there because it's just getting the central nervous system really prepared for everything that's going to be going on. Also so that it can better communicate, because that's the communications hub. So you want to be able to have those signals of well-being, going out, and the body's getting prepared for that. So let me position myself here a little bit better. Maybe you can see. I think I might use a little bit more oil. And again, feel free to work along with me. I know sometimes it could be hard to watch and work, but I'll try to go in a slower pace in a sense where maybe you can just work along with me here. Okay, so let's start doing some worm walks up the spine here, the spine reflex. And we're going to do this about 3 times. So you can watch me do it first, and then I'll come back and we can do it together. So just doing a quick demonstration here, and I know most of you are very familiar with this. A lot of times I try to repeat certain demonstrations because it's best to learn how to master certain aspects, just like waxing on and waxing off. For those of you, I'm dating myself here, obviously, with the Karate Kid, you know, the first one, and Mr. Miyagi will teach Daniel's son to wax on and wax off. Master the mundane first before you can get out and start doing some of the more advanced stuff, because it all plays a part. They're the fundamentals. So sometimes when you see different demonstrations over and over and over again, and it can seem a little bit redundant, but what it is it's building up that momentum for you to first see it in demonstration several times and then start really applying it and get it down. And then you can start really getting into some other stuff that, you know, you want to get more advanced with this. Okay, so let's go up the spine here, right? And I've done it once, but we're going to do it 3 more times. So that's 1, and then we're going to come back down. Okay, there. Come back down, and that would be considered 2. Okay. Alright, and we come back down, and that will be considered 3. Alright, so before I start working on the sinus pads on the toes, I actually want to start working the lung section. So I'm going to come right in here. You can see that. So yeah, so just start rubbing. And then if you want to turn your foot over, let's see if you can see this, you can do kind of some dot to dot here. Start working in that area. Yeah. So I'm going to come back and start just doing a little bit of that there, as you can see. So I'm actually going to work in this area here where I told you the Thymus Gland. It's in this area, kind of at the ball of the foot. But you feel the bone right in there. Start pulling in there a little bit. And some of you may feel a little bit of tenderness in there, and that's typically not abnormal, as long as it's not really painful. But if it is, you do experience a little bit of discomfort, I am going to encourage you to actually press in and take about 3 deep breaths. So I'm not feeling any discomfort in this area for myself, but I'm still, just from a demonstration standpoint, going to take 3 deep breaths. So I invite you to do that with me. Okay. All right. So those of you who just want to kind of do some massaging in this area, just do some rubbing. But for those of you who really want to work the lung reflex and the thymus area, just do some dot to dot in there. So you can go as deep as you feel guided. Just be in tune and in touch with your body. Okay. right? So yeah, so anytime you feel congestion or so, just work in this area. So what we're going to do is, before I start coming really up to the sinus pads, we're going to work in this area as well, which also supports the sinuses. Now right in here is where you can work your eyes. And when you have congestion going on or sinus issues going on, sometimes the eyes get puffy, get watery or so, but also just for you, those of you who would like to improve your visioning, this is just a good area to work. So just make sure you can see that here. It's working the eyes there. So let's start digging in to really work on the sinuses as well. This is helping to improve your immunity by doing this. Just digging right in here. Call these the piano hands. So just digging in there, working in those areas. Yeah. Okay. So now we're going to start working on the sinus pads. But before really getting into those, I just want to provide a little context to the big toe and how it differentiates from the rest of the toes as you're working on the sinuses. Because the big toe really consists of the brain. And it's not that these other pads don't have the brain stimulation as well, but this would be considered the main central hub here. So start kind of walking down and then make a hook here. And you can start just rubbing in there. Like I said, that's the brain. It's the pineal gland and the pituitary gland. But we can stay right here kind of on the pad and still work the brain, but also the sinuses as well. So again, you can do some little walking down there or do thumb walking. Make a hook and take a deep breath. Alright. But it's good to really just work this big toe in a 360, kind of just all the way around. It's going to support your sinuses here. So just work that around there. See there. Yeah. Alright, so now I'm going to work on the other pads here. So you can either thumb walk down or do it with your finger. Of course, when I'm doing it this way, I can be a little bit more effective, but I know you probably can't see that. But so you all join in with me here. So we're just gonna, and if you feel a little hook right in there, just press it and take a deep breath. And then you just do that with the rest of the toes. What I'm going to do is, since I want to work it a little bit on myself here, I want to just do it from this angle here. You can see that. And you take as much or as little time as you desire whenever you are doing kind of a session for yourself. But I would say just work all of the toes. Just kind of freestyle with it. A lot of this is that you don't have to get so technical, you know. That's why I really like to do demonstrations, because most of the time, you know, people are doing reflexology on themselves and the basic massages without even realizing that they're doing it. So again, I'm just doing demonstrations, and even though I'm inviting you to, you know, to do this with me, but again, you can, apart from this demonstration, take as much time as you feel that you need. Just check in with your body. I normally recommend that people work on an area at least 60 seconds, but you definitely can work on it longer. But you just want to check in with your body to see what's going to be right for you. Okay. All right. So I'm going to dig in here just a little bit more. Okay. So that's how you work your respiratory system. I thought I was going to break off and doing on my left foot, but I feel that this is actually good enough. And so, like I said, we've worked the lungs and the thymus gland area, and we've worked in here for the sinuses and the sinus pads. We've demonstrated it on the right hand for hand reflexology, and most importantly, we spine walked so that we get our central nervous system in alignment with what we're doing here. So, okay. And after this, again, feel free, you can work on your left foot, as well, or whichever foot you didn't work on. And a lot of times it's not actually mandatory. You don't have to do both hands or both feet. If you, work on one, you may feel guided just to only do that one. And then also, depending on the length of time that you have to spend on yourself, you just have to follow the guidance. So yeah, so we've worked those areas, and that's just basic for you to get started. And again, spend as much or as little time as you feel guided to do. So I always like to feature my publication as often as possible. I touch myself and I like it. It's a DIY self-massage, Acupressure, Reflexology, and Wealth-flex-ology journal recorder. And you can definitely secure a copy of this on Amazon, but there'll be a link in the description below. And so this is just good to have, to be able to record your journey and also just be empowered about the whole experience of the DIY aspect. So I look forward to bringing you more videos of this nature in the near future.